What's up YouTube, it's Ryan from AnnihilatorMTG here, and I'm back again with some more Modern. This week we're going to be playing a viewer-requested deck, and that would be Blue Moon. I have a certain fondness for Blue Moon shells. You can kind of do whatever you want with them. So what does our build look like? At its core, this build is a control deck through and through. Look no further than our Counterspell suite. We're running full playsets of the aforementioned Counterspell and Archmage's Charm, with a 2-2 split of both Force of Negation and Cryptic Command. When it comes to stack-based interaction, this deck is no joke. That isn't to say that our strength only exists on the stack. Blood Moon, for instance, is an excellent card to play in a meta filled with insanely greedy mana bases, sometimes going upwards of 5 colors just for the sake of it. Land one of these on an empty board and manage to protect it, and the game belongs to you. With that said, not every game is going to end with a salty concession, although I wish it did. This is where the muscle comes in. Enter Murktide Regent. This delve creature is quickly becoming one of my all-time favorites. By running a good amount of fetches and cantrips, you too can have a massive flyer on board pretty quickly, or if you so desire, you can wait until the game grinds to a halt and present your opponent with a threat they cannot possibly answer, considering they now have a bunch of mountains for some reason. It would be wrong of me to not also bring up Jace and Snapcaster. Jace is a fantastic value engine that does exceptionally well in this type of deck. For what it's worth, you can apparently also win with him, but that doesn't involve brainstorming, so the jury's out on that one. As for the Snapcaster, our options are vast in this deck, from Lightning Bolt to Opt to Counterspell, you name it. Not to mention being able to swing in for 2 should not be underestimated. Finally, we have some interesting fun ofs, that being a pair of Fire and Ice and even a Factor Fiction. These cards aren't ever going to be front and center, but when I have them, I'm usually glad. With that said, I'm super excited to play this deck, so let's hop into the first match and see how it goes. Alrighty, looks like we found our opponent here. Best of luck to you, my friend, and this hand seems keepable. Let's get things rolling with a fetch and see what they're playing. Great minds think alike as they play a Flooded Strand. On their end step, we'll crack our fetch, finding an untapped Steam Vent, casting an Opt. We see another island, why not? Then we draw a Lightning Bolt. Think we're just gonna play the basic and send it back. Before their turn, they crack their Flooded Strand for a Triome. Always happy to see non-basics. As expected, they untap and play a fetch, giving us plenty of time to cast another Opt. We'll keep the mana, drawing even more lands. I actually don't hate this. If we're dealing with some kind of control mirror, us running out of lands is going to end horribly. With that said, let's play a Scalding Tarn and hold up our charm. They crack their Misty Rainforest. We'll do the same for our Scalding Tarn, grabbing a basic island while they choose another Triome. As is tradition, they play another fetch and pass. Let's see if we can get things moving along with an Archmage's Charm. It resolves, netting us a Murktide Regent and another island, followed up by a Force. Things are really coming together. Let's play another island, and while we could cast our Jace, I don't think we really need to flinch just yet. On our end step, they crack their fetch for a Breeding Pool, matching us with a charm of their own. Absolutely thrilling gameplay as they play another fetch and pass. They have to flinch at some point, so let's cast our second charm. Drawing even more lands. Alright, that might be a bit excessive. Seeing an Opt. With this many lands, we should probably just play one and then wait. They crack their fetch for a Hallowed Fountain, discarding a Flooded Strand. Up next, they play a basic forest. Let's crack our fetch for an island, casting the Opt. Oh nice, a Counterspell. Just to load up the yard, I think we'll cast the Bolt as well. That takes him down to 11. We draw another cantrip. Let's go land number 6, and if I'm not mistaken, the ideal time to play the Regent will be with 7 mana. That way we can hold up Force and Counterspell. Our opponent's living their best life, playing a basic island. Let's cast an Opt. Don't think we want that, but we draw another land, figures. Then we see a Thought Scour. Alright, let's see what we can do. First up, we'll play and crack our fetch, grabbing another basic. Then we'll delve away the good stuff and cast the big Regent. As expected, they attempt to counter it. We follow in kind. They do the same. In response, let's jam the Force. Wow, and they had one too? What a stack. I'm not even mad. They're gonna get one free turn. Let's see what they do with it. And they cast a Jace. Brutal. No doubt hitting the Brainstorm, playing another basic, and then they pass. Ooh, Factor Fiction. Okay. Let's play our island. Then we'll cast the Jace. It resolves. Not bad. Time to Brainstorm. Aw, man, they had a Bolt. Oh well, let's stack things accordingly. Now we just gotta find a way to deal with their Jace, otherwise we're gonna be left in the dust. They Brainstorm once again, followed up by an Omnath. Definitely countering that one. It fizzles. We draw the charm. On our end step, they crack their Flooded Strand, grabbing a tap Steam Vents. Brainstorming yet again. Then they cast a Wrenn and 6. I guess we have to counter that. In response, they cycle a land. Looks like they drew an answer. This might be wrong, but I think we're going to respond with the Archmage's Charm. They jam a fetch and send it back. Drawing a Thought Scour, let's play it. Nice, we find a Snapcaster. Let's play it right away, targeting the Lightning Bolt, and now we give them a taste of their own medicine. On our end step, they crack their fetch for a Temple Garden, casting a Lightning Helix of all things, targeting our Snap. Now feels like the best possible time to cast the Factor Fiction since they're empty-handed. We'll keep the pile with the Archmage's Charm, the Snap dies, and we may just be a tiny bit ahead. No news is good news, as they pass straight through their turn. We see another Thought Scour, let's play and crack the Flooded Strand, finding our 7th island, then we'll cast the Thought Scour, netting us another Snapcaster, phenomenal. On their turn, they play a Field of Ruin. Well, we have a pretty good window, let's flash out the Snap, targeting the Charm, then we'll cast it. They respond with a Force of Negation, no issue there. Finally, we'll cast the Archmage's Charm in our hand. Oh boy, we see a Cryptic and a Lightning Bolt, and a Murktide Regent, don't mind if I do. Time to delve away some spells, and that is one chunky dragon. Let's attack with the Snapcaster, taking them down to 10. Before their last turn, they activate the field, no doubt attempting to thin out their deck. In response, we'll pop off a Lightning Bolt, then we'll grab a Mountain, and it looks like they've seen enough. In this type of matchup, I know what I want to sideboard in, but the question of what to take out is a little more complicated. I think we're just going to improvise by cutting the Fire and Ice, 2 copies of Opt, and I guess the Factor Fiction. That way we can bring in the Mystical Disputes and the Aether Gusts. Yeah, that should be fine. This hand is not the best. If we get lucky with our cantrip, it could work, but we're not going to risk that. Now this one is much less exciting, but at least we won't brick on lands. I guess we'll keep. Going down to 5 would be a huge bummer anyways. Shipping an island, and let's see what they got. They start things off with a Triome, very exciting. We draw Cryptic, and just like that, this hand is way better. Let's play fetch number 1, and then we'll pass. On their turn, they play and crack a Misty Rainforest, grabbing an untapped Temple Garden. This all but guarantees the Wrenn and 6. Yes, indeed. In response, we'll crack our fetch, finding an island. Then we'll cast the Thought Scour, hoping to find a force. Instead, we draw Blood Moon. I can live with that. Their Planeswalker resolves, then they uptick, drawing a basic mountain. Not exactly what we were looking for. Think we'll just play a basic island and hope they don't have any more non-blue threats. Up next, they play and crack a Misty, sadly finding a basic island of their own. Upticking the Wrenn and 6, this makes the Blood Moon a little less exciting. Regardless, we'll crack our fetch during the Wrenn step, getting another basic. Then we draw Jace, let's play the Sulfur Falls, and since they have their mana up, I'm not too comfortable running out the Blood Moon just yet. As is tradition, they continue to leverage their Misty, this time grabbing a basic forest, then returning their fetch with a Wrenn and 6. They seem pretty content as they send it right back. We draw Steam Vents, let's play another basic island, and I don't think we have much of a choice here, so we'll cast the Blood Moon. They attempt to counter with a force. In response, let's jam the Mystical Dispute, and the Blood Moon resolves, no more fetching for them. Up next, they play a non-basic, upticking the Wrenn and 6 and passing the turn, drawing a counter. Let's play the Steam Vents. Now, as much as it pains me to do this, I think we have to bounce their Wrenn and 6 with their Cryptic. If they have an answer for this, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. Wow, that resolves, and we see a Murktide Regent. I wonder what's in their hand. Well, they redeploy their Wrenn and 6, upticking and playing a non-basic. This Blood Moon is working overtime. We draw redundant Murktide, think we'll cast one of them, and that's enough to get him to scoop. GG's. Alrighty, looks like we found our opponent here. Best of luck to you, my friend. So this hand isn't amazing, but if they have a slow start, it'll be perfectly functional. They get things rolling with a basic island, passing immediately. This already makes our Blood Moons less appealing. Here's hoping that's their only basic. Right on time, we see an Opt. Let's play a Scalding Tarn and see what they got. During our end step, they cycle an Architect, so we're at the very least prepared to deal with Living End. Up next, they play an untapped Steam Vents. Let's crack our fetch, grabbing a Steam Vents of our own. Then we'll cast the Opt. Don't think we want another island. Or not, that's fine, I guess. We draw Jace. If anything, that'll be great fuel for the Force. If we get to the point where we're comfortable tapping out, we likely already have the game in the bag. Time to play our island, and now we can just hold up our interaction. Before their next turn, they cycle a Waker of Waves, bidding a land to the process. Weirdly enough, they play a Gemstone Mine. I didn't think Living End even played that, although it does make sense if you want to leverage Grief. As is tradition, we continue to draw more lands, might as well play it. On our end step, they cycle a Riverwinder and nothing else, followed up by a Grief on their main phase, probably have to counter this. Let's see if we can bait out a Violent Outburst by cracking the fetch. They fall for it, phenomenal, cascading into a Living End, then we'll cast the Force, finally grabbing a Steam Vents. Ooh, we draw a Cryptic Command. Usually that's too slow, but we can actually take advantage now. Let's jam the Sulfur Falls and send it back. On their main phase, they play a tapped Breeding Pool, then bafflingly enough, they cast another Violent Outburst on their end step. This makes almost no sense at all. They should really be doing this during our upkeep. Either way, they cascade into their second living end. In response, we'll cast the Cryptic, choosing Counter Draw, hitting a Murktide Regent, followed by a Force of Negation. Wow, this is perfect. Alright, here we go. Let's jam the basic island, then we'll delve away the good stuff, casting a pretty massive Murktide Regent. And since we have the Force of Negation, I'd say we're a huge favorite to win this game. They probably need a Grief to get out of this. On our end step, they cycle a Street Wraith. Then on their turn, they play a tap Stomping Ground and immediately evoke a Grief. Now this isn't exactly what I meant, considering there's no immediate follow-up, so we're not too afraid of this move. There goes our Force, but now the two of us are in top deck mode and we have a massive threat on board. We see a Lightning Bolt, that'll speed things up. Let's swing in for 7, taking them down to 9. Alright, moment of truth, and wow, they just scoop it up, nice. So this is the type of matchup where we want to bring in like half the sideboard. With that in mind, we're going to be cutting the Jaces, Fire and Ice, the Blood Moons, and the Factor Fiction. That way we can bring in 2 copies of Soul Guide Lantern, the Void Mirrors, and the Mystical Disputes. Yep, that looks good. Wow, this hand is so close to perfect, keeping this every time. They lead off with a fast land, passing immediately. We draw a redundant Void Mirror, that's pretty useful. Let's get things rolling with a Flooded Strand, and see where this goes. During our end step, they cycle a Monstrous Carabid. Reminds me of Classic Living End. I got absolutely wrecked by that build in my first SCG tournament. Right on time, they play a Botanical Sanctum, passing once again. Let's crack the Flooded Strand, grabbing a tap Steam Vent. Then we draw Soul Guide Lantern. Yep, that basically solidifies the yard. We'll jam the island and then cast it, holding up the Mystical Dispute. Wow, it just resolves? Alright. Time to exile their Carabid. They cycle an Architect, make that 2. Keeping the pace, they play their third fast land. That seems to be it. Drawing a Murktide Regent, that's not ideal. We would have much preferred a land. With that said, since we have a Lantern on board, we should be able to safely cast the Void Mirror. If they counter it, we have another copy. Indeed they do. Up next, they play an untapped Breeding Pool, and I think we know what that means. Yep, they hardcast a Curator. So us falling behind on lands is significant, and if we continue to do so, we'll likely lose. Wow, and they even evoke a copy of Grief. There goes the Murktide Regent. We draw Thought Scour, think we have to cast it, milling over a land and hitting a snap. This feels real bad. Before anything else, they attack us for 4, bringing us down to 15, and then they pass. Drawing another cantrip, we'll try again. Seeing a Lightning Bolt, gonna have to put that on the bottom. Then we draw Scalding Tarn, finally. Let's jam it and see if we can survive. On our end step, they cycle a Curator, untapping and playing a basic forest. They move straight into combat, taking us down to 11. We draw another Murktide. Let's start things off by cracking the fetch, grabbing a basic island. Then we'll delve away some stuff and cast the Murktide. I think at this point we only lose to Petty Theft mixed with another Cascade effect and probably some counter magic. Either way, they play a Sunken Ruins on their turn, enabling them to hardcast a Grief if they have it. Apparently not. We see another Counterspell, good enough for me. It's time to get aggressive. Attacking for 6, they block. So now the yard is really the only thing we need to worry about. They play another basic, this time it's an island. Seems like they're getting really unlucky with these draws. Luck appears to be on our side, however, drawing an island of our own. We already have enough tools in our hand, so getting some mana is exactly what we want. Attacking once again, this time taking them down to 12. It looks like they drew another land, but the weird thing is, they put it into play untapped, which just seems excessive. Yeah, and they even hard pass. Interesting. Drawing another island, no complaints here. Let's jam it. Then we'll attack for 6. Before damage, they cast a Violent Outburst, cascading into a living end. Not gonna happen. They respond with a Force of Negation. Let's hit it with a Dispute, and it fizzles. They go down to 4 life, untapping and casting another Violent Outburst. Once again, cascading into a living end. Let's counter it. This one fizzles too. Seemingly out of desperation, they cycle a Curator, but after the fact, which makes 0 sense, followed by a Street Wraith. And I guess that's it. They scoop it up. GG's. Alrighty, looks like we found our opponent here. Best of luck to you, my friend. And this hand seems pretty good. We'll keep. Let's start things off with a Flooded Strand and see what we're playing against. Oh wow, and Urza's land. It's been a long time. Let's crack our fetch, grabbing a basic island. Then we'll cast the Opt, seeing a Force of Negation. Why not? Drawing another fetch. Might as well play one of them. So the big question here is, are we dealing with Eldrazi or mono green? Regardless, they find themselves another Tron piece and follow that up with a Mind Stone. That definitely feels like Eldrazi Tron. This might be be a mistake, but I think we're going to force it. No point in worrying about it now, as we crack our fetch, finding a tap Steam Vents. Then we draw Counterspell. Okay, things are coming together. Let's go land number 3, and now we just wait. Rotten luck on our opponent's side, as they play a duplicate Tron piece, casting a Matter Reshaper. Let's counter it, cracking our fetch for another basic. Ooh, and we draw Snapcaster Mage. I am very happy with this. Let's play another island, and then we'll hold up our interaction. Second verse, same as the first, as they play a duplicate Tron land, this time casting a Thought Seer. This may be a little bit greedy, but we'll counter it with the Archmage's Charm. That way we can maximize our instant and sorcery count, hitting another basic island. So what we'll do here is play our land, then delve away the good stuff minus our opt. That way we can have a powerful Murktide Regent and hold up our Snapcaster in a useful way. Up next, they play an incredibly late Chalice of the Void for 1. In response, let's flash out the Snapcaster, targeting the opt, then we'll jam it, boosting the Murktide Regent in the process. We see a Thought Scour, no thanks, and we draw another Snapcaster, excellent. Seems like they're out of gas, as they play a Blast Zone and ship it back, drawing a rather sad Lightning Bolt. Either way, let's attack with the team, taking them down to 11. Since they're adding counters to the Blast Zone, I don't think we're out of the woods just yet. Obviously, the Murktide Regent is a massive issue for them, but this Snapcaster is probably toast. Of course, as I say that, they play a Karn the Great Creator. I see, they fetch for an Ensnaring Bridge. This would normally be extremely effective, but our Ambush Viper of a Snapcaster is going to save the day. Let's flash them out, and they scoop it up, nice. So in this matchup, we're going to cut some of the top end in the form of a single copy of Jace, both Cryptics, and the Factor Fiction. That way we can bring in the Shattering Spree, Shatterstorm, and the Void Mirrors. Yep, looks good to me. Well, this hand looks promising. Might be a little slow on the draw, but we should be fine. They get things rolling with an Eldrazi Temple into an Expedition map. We draw Steam Vents, little overloaded on the non-basics. Either way, let's play it. Then we might as well cast the Shattering Spree, destroying their Expedition map, and here's hoping that sets them back. Apparently not, as they play Eldrazi Temple number 2, casting the tried and true Thought Seer. Now that's interesting, they took our Lightning Bolt. I guess the Blood Moon isn't much of a threat anymore. We see an opt, let's jam our fetch, and then send it back. Before anything else, they attack us for 4, bringing us down to 14. Then they jam an Urza land. Time to crack the Flooded Strand, no doubt grabbing a basic. Then we'll cast the opt, scrying the mountain to the bottom, and we draw an Archmage's Charm. Into another fetch, let's play it. So at the very least, we're equipped to leverage the Blood Moon if needed. Whether or not we survive, that's the big question. As is tradition, they attack us for 4, bringing our life total down to 9, followed by Urza land number 2, casting a Mind Stone. Don't think we really care about that. Let's see if we can get some action. We crack our fetch for another basic, then cast the Charm, choosing draw 2, seeing a Force and a Lightning Bolt. Ooh, and then we draw a Void Mirror. Alright, that'll work. Let's play a land, then we'll cast it. It resolves. So if I'm not mistaken, this locks them out pretty hard. Of course, that does nothing about their current board, as they swing in with their Thought Seer, bringing us down to a lowly 4 life. Post-combat, they crack their Mind Stone, followed by their third Tron piece. We draw another Lightning Bolt, and this complicates things a touch. I'm inclined to play the Jace just to get it on board, but that does leave us a bit exposed. Double Bolt seems wasteful, but that allows us to hold up the Force. As much as I hate to do it, I think we have to. Their Thought Seer dies, and we draw a Counterspell. That's actually pretty good. Lucky for us, they play a land and do nothing. Drawing another fetch, let's play and crack it, grabbing our third basic. Then it should be safe to go Blood Moon. Oh god, wait a minute, what did we just do? Talk about the pun of the year. For those of you who are unaware, Void Mirror makes it so that spells get countered if you don't use colored mana, and in our Eternal Wisdom, we just gave them half a dozen mountains. Regardless, we gotta tighten up the bolts and try to get out of this mess. This is super undeserved, but it looks like their hand is subpar, as they play an Expedition map into another Urza land. That appears to be it. We draw an Archmage's Charm. I don't think it's time for the Jace yet, so we'll send it back. Before their turn, they crack their map for a basic swamp, playing it on their main phase. Luckily for us, they do so without any follow-up. Let's cast the Charm on their end step, seeing a land and a counter, drawing even more lands. Think we'll play the basic and then cast our Jace, holding up the counter while we do so. Time to brainstorm, stacking things accordingly. We're unable to fetch, but this Thought Scour should do just nicely. Up next, they play a Blast Zone, casting a copy of All Is Dust. In response, we'll jam a Counterspell. It fizzles. On our upkeep, let's cast the Thought Scour. That way we can avoid those lands. Drawing a Murktide Regent into a counter. Beautiful. Let's play our basic. Then we'll uptick the Jace, targeting them. Seeing a copy of Dismember. Let's put that on the bottom. Finally casting a very large Murktide Regent, and despite our shortcomings, we might just get out of this. Continuing to fight the good fight, they cast a 4-mana Karn. Don't think we can allow that, so let's cast the counter. With that said, they cast a second copy of Karn. Oddly enough, I think we should let this through. They fetch for a Walking Ballista, that's annoying but manageable. We draw an island, let's play it. Time to brainstorm. Stacking the Moon and the Snapcaster respectively. Attacking their Karn with our Murktide Regent, it dies, and I think that's it. Moment of truth, as they play a basic waste into a small Walking Ballista. In response, we'll cast the Counterspell. Ah, they were trying to bait us. Here comes a much larger Walking Ballista. Gonna have to cast the Charm. And they scoop it up, GG's. You know, minus the whole Blood Moon thing. And there you have it. I can't really say I'm all that surprised about Blue Moon feeling good. It's not the best deck in the meta, but truthfully, it doesn't have to be. There's definitely some room for tuning if you want more or less of a certain type of card. I could see someone prioritizing the board instead of the stack, and that would totally work. Either way, this build is awesome. To those who were looking forward to me playing this deck, I hope you enjoyed it. Same goes for everyone who watched this video. If you have any more suggestions, keep them coming. I'm always happy to hear from you all. And if you like my content, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. This stuff really does help, so thank you. And as always, stay safe out there and have a good one.